Hi, welcome to the chapter 3 of the data analysis course. I am your instructor. My name is Bhavishya Pandit. In this chapter, we'll be focusing on how to make complex visualizations using Matplotlib. First, we will revisit the techniques which we had used to plot different visualizations using pandas. Later on, we'll see how to use Matplotlib to plot the same kind of visualizations and even more complex custom visualizations using Matplotlib. This chapter would be divided into two parts. The first part would have the following aspects. We would revisit the old concepts, and then we would understand what line chart is and how to plot it using Matplotlib. Then we would understand bar chart and again how to plot it using Matplotlib. In the part 2 of the video, we'll understand what is scatter plot and how to plot it. Then we'd understand what is pie chart and then how to plot it using Matplotlib. At the end, we would understand what are subplots and how subplots are useful and how to plot them using Matplotlib. So let's get started. First, we'll import the necessary packages here and to also tell about what the dataset we'll be using. In this dataset, we'll be focusing on the imports and exports of Indian trade from 2010 to 2018. The zip file, the link contains a zip file, and this zip file, there are mainly two files, the import and export CSV. And that is exactly what we'll be using today. So let's read the files using pd.read_csv. So here we see that there are a few rows, there are a few columns, five rows and 5 columns. So we have HS code, we have commodity, value, country, and year, right? And as we see, there are a few missing values as well, right? But it should not be much of a concern right now because we are not analyzing data, we're just focusing on how to visualize the data in this chapter. So here again we have HS code, commodity, value, country, and year, and this is the exports, this is the import. So again, now coming on to the part 1, we'll be revisiting a few concepts, a few other older functions that I've had used in pandas. We'd also visualize the data using pandas, and then we would understand different plots like line chart and bar chart, how to plot them using Matplotlib. Now let's run the cell and see what the shape of this data frame is. So this is 76,924 and 5 columns. As we saw that there is a null value here. Now again, let's see how many missing values are here, like total missing values. So it shows that there are almost 11,500 missing values in the value section. So we'll just be dropping the nulls, and we have dropped the nulls, right? Now we want to aggregate the data. I want to aggregate the data and I want to sum the data as per the country and year, right? So for here, for a particular country, that is, I want to sum the total amount of trade that has been done, right, in a particular year, right? So if I do that, here I see that with Afghanistan in 2010, the trade has been $146 billion, right? In 2011, it has been 132. In 2012, so you can plot this as well, right? So just for the sake of simplicity purpose, we'll reset the index and we'll see how does it look. So it shows us the import data, year-wise import data for every country we are able to see, right? Now I want to know how many unique countries are there. How many unique countries are there in this data set, in the imports data set? So I see that there's a lot, right? Now if I want to see what is the total number of countries, so I'll just write n unique here, and if I'll just run it, it shows me that the data we have is for 241 countries. Now let's do some plotting, let's do some visualizations and understand how things are going, right? So a line chart, let's understand what a line chart is. So here a line chart is a line or a curve that is of a specific kind that shows information as a succession of markers. So what do we mean by markers? These bullets that you see here, right? This is a bullet, this is a bullet. So this is called a marker. It can be in the form of a bullet, it can be in the form of an asterisk like a star, or it can be in the form of a dotted line, it can be anything, right? Yeah, So succession of markers or data points connected by a straight line segment. So this is a straight line. So the segment that is connecting these bullets or markers is straight line, and that is what we have. So let's see country-wise comparison of import trade. I want to plot it and I want to see what is the country-wise comparison, right? So in this case, for we would not do country-wise exactly, but we would specifically want to do and would want to see for a specific country, right? If I plotted all the countries, then it would might be a bit difficult to visualize and to see and to understand each country because there are 241 countries. So we'll just get started with the first country, that is Afghanistan, right? So this is how you can do it. So in the year-wise imports, that is the name of our data frame. I'm just choosing the country Afghanistan, and then on the y-axis I'm plotting value, and on the x-axis I'm plotting year. Right. This C stands for color, as you all know. Right. So in this color magenta and dot grid is for showing the grids. So if I run it, it shows me that this has been the trade. So this is the value. So this is in billion dollars, right? So from 2010 to 2018, the curve has been this like this. Now let's say uh, I want to save it in a data frame. The values that it has, I want to save it in a data frame, right? Because I will be comparing it with other countries afterwards, right? So I'll just save it in a data frame, and now I have data for Afghanistan, right? For all the areas. Now let's do it for um, Pakistan, and let's see how Pakistan has been in comparison to Afghanistan. Both of them are neighbors, right? I just want to see how both of them have been in imports. So when we run this cell, right, using Matplotlib, we see that in Pakistan, what has happened is this green one is for Pakistan, blue one is for Afghanistan, right? Here, what we have had done is we have had used plt.plot. So what is plt here? We have imported matplotlib over here as plt. So plt is an alias here, right? In this alias, I want to plot Afghanistan's year as my x-axis, right? That is exactly what you see, right? And the value of Afghanistan's import, right? And then I want to use the marker, this pipe, right, as the marker. And since I have not mentioned any color, it is considering blue as default, right? Similarly, I have had done for Pakistan. So since the year of Pakistan and Afghanistan is the same, so that is why it has coincided. But the values differ. That is exactly why you see two different graphs here, right? Green is for Pakistan, O is for this, right? So to plot a line chart, you have to use the function plt.plot. And plt comes only when you have had imported matplotlib.pyplot as plt. Only then it would work, right? But this graph is not enough. Here only because I have told you that green denotes Pakistan, blue denotes Afghanistan. That is why you know it. But let's say someone new who has come to it and someone is very is not good in understanding visualizations. Then what? Then what will happen, right? So in that scenario, what we can do is we can add a few other details to this chart so that it becomes more insightful, right? So in this case, what I'll do is I have saved for Pakistan data frame. I have saved it in a data frame. For the values of Pakistan, I've saved it in a data frame. I am again plotting for Afghanistan and again plotting for Pakistan, but now I am putting and adding a title like what this chart denotes. There I put a chart title where it would denote that import trade comparison Afghanistan versus Pakistan. I am putting the X label. So X label is here you see that this is years, right? But someone who's new may or may not understand whether this denotes year or not. Similarly for Y, right? Some may or may not understand whether it denotes like value in what scale. Is it billion? Is it million? Is it trillion? Is it 100,000? What it is? Or what exactly is it even? Is it even like trade in rupee or what, right? So that is why we have to add it. We will have to put some values. And lastly, this legend would show us what color denotes what. So this legend would show us that blue color denotes Afghanistan and green color denotes Pakistan. So if I'll run this cell, you would see that here that orange color shows Pakistan and blue color shows Afghanistan. This is the legend that I had used, right? And here, since I did not mention anything, so after blue it had taken orange. But if I write green here, right, and if I write red here for Afghanistan, right, then the colors would change. So Afghanistan it has become red, and Pakistan it has become green, right? Similarly, if you want to change the title, right, you can change the title as well. So import trade comparison Afghanistan versus Pak. I'll just remove this import trade, right, and then we'll run the cell again. So here the title has changed. You see it properly, right? And that is how it works. Again, this grid is for grid. If I remove plt.grid, it will show, it will remove the grid. But if I want detailed understanding of it, and if I'd be able to understand only with the grid, then if I would uncomment this code section and if I would run it again, it would show me grids. And that is how it works. So I hope you have understand what a line chart is, and you have understood how line chart works, how to plot, how do we have been plotting using pandas, and how do we have to plot using Matplotlib, right? Now let's come on to the next chart. The next chart is bar graph, right? So we understand already what a bar graph is. We have already used it a lot, right? So bar graph basically is a pictorial representation of different values, right? And it is represented by bars, the columns. The column that you see here, it is called a bar graph. It's called bars, and that is exactly why it is called a bar graph, right? There are mainly four different types of bar graphs, right? Here you would see vertical bar graph, where all the values are being plotted vertically. Here you would see a horizontal bar graph, right, where all the values are plotted horizontally, right, where the main plot is horizontal, right. Here you will see a stacked bar graph. So bar graph one over the another, right? So you wouldn't have to have plot. The speciality of this kind of bar graph is that in one graph only you'd be able to understand and see multiple values. You wouldn't be in a need to plot multiple bar graphs. This not only saves time but also is insightful at the same time. Again, now if you don't like a stacked bar graph, you can use a grouped bar graph. So we'd understand, and we will try to plot all of these graphs and see how do they look, right? So in this case, I would want to plot the highest import trade in a descending order, right? I would want to plot a bar graph in the descending order, right? So what I would do is, here I would just use the data frame that I have. Then I would take the year section, like for what year I want. So here I have written 2018. For 2018 I want to see in descending order, right? Then I have sorted the values by value in descending order. That is why ascending equals to false. And I have taken the first 10 countries, first 10 rows, right? And in that I am plotting country against value, and in kind you have to write bar, right? Earlier, if you would have gone up and if you would have seen, I have not mentioned kind over here, right? We have had understood this earlier also in the chapter 1. But here, if you want to plot a bar graph, you'll have to write kind equals to bar. By default, it would plot a line chart, and then dot grid functions grids. So if I'll run this cell, so you would be able to see that all these things are being plotted in a bar graph in descending order. So here we see that the highest import has been from China, right? And that is some $70,000 million, right? So that is almost $70 billion. So that is what it is. Now, if you want to change the color, you can simply change the color here by orange, right? And if I'll just run this cell again, now the color has been changed to orange. If you want me to change it to brown, we can write brown here, right? And it would be changed to brown. So now This is it. This is for 1 year, right? Now, what if I want to compare it for multiple years? Let's say 2014, right? I want to compare it for 2014 and 2018 in the same descending order, right? And all the values are same. So now what we would do is we would take the support of Matplotlib here again. So I have created a data frame which has the data for 2018 data. Similarly, I have created a data frame that has data for 2014 data. I have selected the year as well. What year I want. For what year I want. Here I am filtering the data. I am sorting the data as in descending order by value, and I am taking the first 9 countries, right? Because else would have been very haphazard. So then I am for plotting in Matplotlib, you have to use dot bar function, right? And how do you plot? Again, is you would write the data frame, the first column that you would want to plot in the x-axis. You have written you want to plot country. Here also in the x-axis you have had plotted country, and in the y you have had plotted value. So similarly here exactly what we would do. So here we would be plotting country in the x-axis, value in the y-axis, and the label that we would have is import value for 2018, and similarly for 2014 we'll have it for 2014, right? Plt.legend is to give us all the markers, like what value we are using and all of that, right? And how do we have to get it, like uh, what color denotes for what year and all of that. Then we are using the grid function. Then we are giving the title, or like what is the title, what is the title of this chart, right? Then we would be labeling our x-axis, we'll be labeling our y-axis, and here there is a new function that is xticks. So you would understand what xticks means. So if I just comment it first and then run the cell, you would be able to see that this is the chart. But here you are not able to understand the country names, right? Here you are not able to understand the country names. Things were not like this here. Here it was automatically understood. But here you are not able to understand the country names. That is exactly where plt.xticks comes into the picture. And rotation equals to 90 degrees. What it does is the values that you have in your x-axis, it converts and it rotates it by 90 degrees. So now earlier it was very haphazard, right? But now it is not, because it has rotated all of those values by 90 degrees, and hence you are able to see. So it is a stacked bar graph where you are able to see that in 2014 the import was near to 60,000, right, for China, but now it is 70,000. You would also be able to see that there are a few countries who were there in 2014 but not in 2018, and vice versa. Like Hong Kong was there in 2018 but was not there in 2014. Similarly, Indonesia was there in 2014 but is not there in 2018, right? In the top 9 countries, it is not there. So that is also how it goes, right? So you would see that Iraq, 2014, the trade was somewhat around, let's say, 16,000, right? But now it has gone beyond 22, 23,000. So this is a stacked bar graph, and that is how you will be able to understand that there are a few countries which did not come in the top 9 imports of India for a specific year, but now they are coming, like especially for 2014 and 2018, right? Now let's see a horizontal chart, right? To plot a horizontal chart, what do you have to do is, earlier what we were using earlier we were using bar, right? But in this case, we would be using bar H. So bar H stands for bar horizontal, right? As the name suggests. So here, the same data that I'm plotting, I'd be plotting it using the bar H function, right? All the things are same: country, value, the y, label, it is the same. Legend I have mentioned, grid I have mentioned. What is the title? Label, label for y, label for x. Right here it would be label for x and label for y, not the opposite. Right, and again xticks is opposite. Here it is the same thing. Here we'll just put it y and x here because it is an horizontal one, right? So it was correct actually. My bad. So we just run this thing again, and here you would see that in the y-axis all of those countries are mentioned, right? And in the x-axis it has been changed. The values are there in the x-axis because it is a horizontal chart now, right? Earlier it was a vertical one, and hence your country was in the x-axis, right? But here the values are in the y-axis for the horizontal bar chart. So that's it for the part 1 of this chapter. I hope you have understood the concepts really well. In this part, we have had covered the basics of data analysis that we have had studied already earlier, from grouping the data to different functions like finding nulls, dropping nulls, how to filter the data. Then we have understood what a line chart is, how to plot a line chart using pandas, how to plot it using Matplotlib, how to filter the data, and then we have had understood what bar chart is, how do we plot bar chart, how do we sort values, again, which is a function which we have already covered, right? Then we understood how to plot multiple bar charts in the same bar chart, right? Using stat bar chart. Then we understood how to plot a horizontal bar chart. In the part 2 of this video, uh, we'd be understanding scatter plot, we'd be understanding pie chart, and then we'd be understanding at last subplot, and then we would be covering up the entire course. I hope you have understood something valuable from this part of the video. Looking forward to see you in the next part. Till then, goodbye.